we'll gather about AI and science fiction in the future. But as an investor, I'm thinking about this, what are my takeaways? And I think, well, the technology itself has certain demands and inputs, and that's investable. But on the other hand, if you really do have fleets of robot cars everywhere, does everybody need to have a car? We could actually see this have a negative impact on commodities.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, we're like 2/3 the way through May. Lobo Tiggre is with us now. And, well, what's going on out there, Lobo? This world has gone totally insane. Nobody knows what's happening.
You would know that from the S&P 500.
Yeah, well, somebody knows something, right?
Yeah, it's a mad, sad world out there, and there are many different directions we can take this conversation. But I guess my intro remarks, Kerry, would be: I think Wall Street is delusional to be celebrating the de-escalation between the U.S. and China. Even if it's true, it's a de-escalation. It's certainly not peace in the trade war. Sure. And even if they make some kind of deal, the outcome of that is still going to be a more expensive, less efficient trade arrangement. The bare minimum, it's pretty clear Trump is going after is 10% around the world. So there is no going back to the way things were before. And for equities to be priced as they were before, in my view, makes no sense. I think this has investment implications, even if you're not a mainstream investor, because if the broader markets are making a mistake right now, they're overly optimistic for how all this stuff is going to work out. There will be plenty more Trump shock to come. And I don't mean that as an insult, love him or hate him. There's Trump shock to come. And that has a lot of investment implications for us.
So what about Doge here? They're cutting billions.
Notice how that dropped out of the news cycle.
Yeah, which is a good thing, because Elon Musk, at least as far as the media is concerned, dropped off the charts because he's getting too much hate, starting to affect his business, and he's got important things going on there. I mean, we got full self-driving taxis, robocabs, slated to hit the streets in 12 days, Lobo. Now, if there's a game,
I was just writing about this, and I got some pushback on Twitter. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it'll never be safe," or "I'll never be comfortable with a robot driving my car," and all that. I was driven to the airport in Frankfurt a couple of days ago, and it was a Tesla Model Y, I think, and it had on the screen like this graphical representation of the neighborhood.
Yeah. And
the trucks and the cars would appear, the road, you expect that, but the people on the sidewalk would appear. And you could tell when somebody was on a bike, and it would, it would appear on the screen as a cyclist. I'd not seen this before. But two things, like it saw everything.
Yes.
And it saw it before I did. Like I'd see on the screen, oh, there's a person. Then I'd go, look, oh yeah, there it is. So it is really quite impressive. And this is happening. The UK, there was also in the news that they're saying, well, we were going to delay the Uber robot taxis until 2027. Uber's saying we can do it today. But this is coming, and I know some people hate it, but you know what? The robot is never going to get drunk. It's never going to get tired. It's never going to, get distracted chatting on the phone with his girlfriend or something.
Texting.
Right.
Is a
so
friend.
I think this will make the roads safer, and I'm all for it. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be an electric car. If you hate electric cars, that's not the point.
It actually does have to be an electric car, not because of technology. It's just that electric is more responsive than ICE. There's a fact, direct drive motors, you don't have transmissions, not in the way that cars do. It doesn't shift gears, and you have the regenerative braking, which makes it much safer. But
okay, so it makes sense. But
yeah,
my point was simply, I don't think people should hate the robot taxis just because they hate electric cars.
yeah. Well, what I can tell you is this. I've been driving a Tesla for 3.5 years. I have the FSD. There are most instances it drives better than me. It has 8 cameras, so you have 360 vision, and its response times are immediate. You know, no matter how good your reflexes are as a human being, you got a gap between sensory perception and stimulus, right, in action. And it eliminates that. I've actually had people, I've actually had people run in front of my car, pitch black road, middle of the night on a bicycle. I didn't even see it. The car hit the brakes. I thought it was phantom braking. It saw the guy before he crossed the road. And
and this is direct personal experience. This isn't hearsay. You had this happen to you.
This happened to me.
That's impressive.
So
here's the, we'll gather about AI and science fiction in the future. But as an investor, I'm thinking about this, what are my takeaways? And I think, well, the technology itself has certain demands and inputs, and that's investable. But on the other hand, if you really do have fleets of robot cars everywhere, does everybody need to have a car? We could actually see this have a negative impact on commodities because, honestly, my car at home, I drive it once every 2 weeks or something. The grocery store's around the corner, right? I don't drive it that much. And if you've got, this ubiquitous fleet of robotaxis, they're all there. Like, do you really need to have a car? If you can snap your fingers and one shows up as quickly, right? So I'm thinking about this. Okay, this isn't going to change the markets overnight, but farther ahead, I can see it, where the automotive demand, not just for battery metals, but for steel and everything, actually goes way down.
Oh, there's no question. Because your car, unless you drive it for work, during work, is basically dormant 90% of the time. Even if you drive it for work, it's still going to be dormant 60% of the time, right? So basically, what it does is commodifies ride shares effectively, assuming it can do everything. And the one thing people don't understand you need to get is it doesn't have to drive perfectly. It only has to drive better than a human. It's already at that point where it's in 99%.
This was the thing. This was the very thing that came up on my Twitter feed, the pushback I was getting. Oh, it's still not safe. 97% isn't good enough. It's not 100%. And I'm thinking, yeah, but humans aren't 100%. And okay, right now, I think, people are afraid. It's a new technology, and okay, I get it. It'll take a while for people to get convinced. But at some point, this should be an empirical question. It shouldn't be about how I feel or you feel or what we think or what we like. It'll be about the math. Who has a better safety record? How many people per year do the robotaxis kill per 1,000 units or whatever? And how many people do humans kill? And that's the end of the debate.
That's it. Analytics. It's just data. And, the cool thing is that it's already better in Florida than 95% of the people driving on I-95 at any given moment. Yeah. It's already better. It's already.
And hey, you know what? And even if, I like driving, I don't want to have if I own one of these things, or even if I get in one of these things, I want there to be a steering wheel in case I need to take over for some reason, or, the chip gets fried. I would want to be able to control the car. And I actually enjoy driving. I would like there to be parts in the future where you can rent a car and go driving, around on empty highways by yourself or something. But meanwhile, if the robot is better than me at doing it, I can get work done, right? Or I can watch, or I can have, a text message with like girlfriend or whatever important thing, I can do instead of just staring at the road, right? Why not delegate that?
It gives you when you try to text and drive, which you can do with the thing. That's how much I trust it. You can text and drive, especially on a highway, because on the highway, it's really in its element. But when you do it, it gives you a nag. And then if you keep doing it, it kicks you off the FSD for the rest of the trip. So it's a nanny car too. But really, at this point, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to text and drive. It's that good, Lobo. It's that good. And imagine the effect it's going to have on the country, because the largest job description in the United States is driver. Every form of driver that you can think of, truck drivers, taxis, Uber. It's over 10 million people. And those people, for the most part, going to be out of a job eventually.
If we want to, we'll gather on that. This is something I've been thinking. You know, and I'm a hardcore libertarian. I believe in, I don't believe in subsidies and freebies, and I'm opposed to welfare. The moral hazard, all that stuff. I believe all that. But in a world, particularly during the transition, when the robots take over so much of the work and the AIs take over the intellectual work, I'm just not, what is everybody going to do? Not everybody can become a poet overnight, right? And where I'm going with this is I can actually see an argument for UBI, at least during the transition.
I agree.
And my mind recoils at the idea. I hate it. I don't believe in freebies and giveaways. That's, everything about me wants to say bad, 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 bad. But if like half the jobs in the world go away over the next 15 years, what are they going to do? Weave baskets? And how many tourists can you sell a basket to, right?
Of course.
I don't know the answer to this.
I don't either, but I do know that not everybody can be a podcaster. Right?
Well, see, I've seen
content creator, right?
I have seen, who was it? It wasn't John Stossel. It was somebody like that. Did one of these demos where there was an artificial person of them doing the intro of the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could tell it wasn't real, but it's still pretty damn good.
It's good enough, right?
Yeah. So for my own selfish interests, I've been looking at this and I've been thinking, okay, as long as AIs hallucinate, I think my job is safe. Because what people hire me to do is I'm a due diligence guy. Like, people pay me money because they trust me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I get everything right. I'm not 100%, I'm human, right? But they trust me that I'm not for sale for some company that, people can't pay to recommend something that's crap. Right. And they pay me to actually care and to try hard.
Right.
And to fly boot leather, to actually go look at the rocks in the ground and try to tell if the story is true or not. So as long as AIs hallucinate and as long as AIs can't, put on boots and do what I do, I feel pretty safe in my job. But you look at the robots the Chinese are building and Tesla as well and so on, they are going to be able to apply boot leather pretty soon. So I don't know. I'm hanging my hat right now on the trust. I don't know how much people are going to trust AIs.
For now.
For now,
but eventually we'll have to trust them because they're going to do stuff better than us, better than you can. And, what choice do you have?
Well, but let's say you're a Biden-Harris fan, and the facts are that Biden was senile during the last part of his presidency.
You sure? I don't remember.
Let's say these are the facts, but you don't want to believe these facts. And the preponderance of the data is there such that an objective AI says, you know what? Biden was senile during the last few years of his presidency, if not the whole thing. You're not going to trust that AI. And it doesn't matter what data it presents you. You don't want to believe it, so you're not going to. And not to pick sides, you could say the same thing on the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're a long way from a world at which the AIs are so credible that people will just believe them like a god, right? Are we creating a digital god that we trust and everybody trusts so absolutely? I just don't see that happening anytime soon. It runs contrary to my observation of human nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Well, it's a brave new world, as they say, right? And, you got to get with it or you're going to get overwhelmed by it. I use it In fact, I did one of the first AI related layoffs in the world. I was paying somebody to do my show notes. She was really great. Loved her. She wasn't that fast, not as fast as I wanted to be. And when they started transcripting AI, AI transcription, I said, what do I need to pay her for? And it does it instantly. I don't have to wait for turnaround. So I said, hey, I'm really sorry, you got to go. I used ChatGPT to write her a recommendation letter, and saving money now, and it's getting done a lot faster. I got to do a little work as far as editing, because sometimes it just uses trite phrases. It just uses things that aren't right. But over time, it's getting better and better, Lobo. It's getting better.
I hear you. That I've gone from telling my team when I think it was GPT-3 when it first came out. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. But I've gone from telling my team I would fire anybody who used this crap because it was so bad and so hallucinatory, to now I have somebody on the team dedicated to seeing how we can integrate the technology and use the research tools more. And just even on the simple basis, and please don't worry, dear audience, I still check everything. There's still a human in the loop. But, my take is still my take. Everything comes through, this brain.
I get it.
Other. But if we want background on, some country I haven't been to, not a lot of those, but, Uganda. I've never been to Uganda. And they claim to have found $93 trillion worth of gold. So if I want to research Uganda, I can ask a bot, and it can produce a better summary than the CIA fact book in seconds, right? And a human couldn't do that, and we still need to check it. So I can't just say, "Oh, I have all this stuff, and now I know."
No, you got to check.
But just that one task of pulling together the information for me to check, so that I can read it and look into what makes sense and what I need to follow up on, that would have been, some intern or analyst weeks or a month to pull together. And now it's 15 seconds.
Yeah, instantaneous. And company research, like you said, it's not always up to date and it's not always pertinent. So you can't just blindly follow it. But once you have that info, there's a lot you can do with it. So AI is definitely a day of reckoning coming. The thing is, Lobo, people are not prepared for this. Some of you out there have no idea what's coming towards you. The driving, honestly, is the least of it. It's
a small thing. Yeah.
It's nursing homes with rail.
I think there's an important, sorry, let me jump in because I think there's an important thing. And I'm sorry, I'm always thinking as an investor.
Sure.
The financial survival part here, there's a very important takeaway from this in that with the Chinese apparently vaulting ahead on efficiency with a DeepSeek model and its cost savings and all that. There was a huge hit to the energy sector when that came out. Spot uranium went down, uranium stocks went down. All this huge reaction to this bot that was, I don't know what the numbers are, but it was much more efficient, or supposedly much more efficient.
But that's what they said.
This is very wrong head. I know you're with me here. You're shaking your head. But let's even say it was as efficient as they claimed. It doesn't matter. You can use, something that's 10 times more efficient, but if you're using 1,000 times more of it, you're still going to use more. And particularly on the energy thing, the more efficient you make these bots, the more things we'll use them for. So for sure. The example I just saw was I asked Grok a question, and like we were just talking Uganda, 15 seconds, it gives me everything I ever wanted to know about Uganda. If there's a button there, I can say, well, compare Uganda to Botswana and tell me that, give me a SWOT analysis or something. Then it goes off for 15 minutes and it tells you what it's doing. I'm reading this, I found these papers, and there's some relevant conversation on these Reddit threads. And it's doing an enormous amount of work. So, okay, we save money on that 15-second compute, right? Where it did that, but now it's so cheap that we're using it for 15 minutes doing all this other stuff. So this whole thing that suddenly the Chinese have made AI energy efficient. We don't need any more energy. I think it's flat out. It's not just flat out wrong. It's like the opposite of right. We are going to use so much more energy, even if we use it more efficient. We're going to use more. We're going to need to build more power stations. And I think that's going to be a tailwind for coal, but I think it's also a tailwind for nuclear. And I think that the sell-off in uranium was not only a buying opportunity, but it was one of these beautiful ones that you can see that it's for the wrong reason. Like when something sells off for good reason, right? There's a big problem or whatever, you take your lumps, you move on. If it sells off for the wrong reason, a market panic or an overreaction to something that in this case is maybe not irrelevant, but completely interpreted the wrong way. Like this discovery or this development just means we'll use more AI, which will demand more energy. And these big data centers, they use as much energy as a medium-sized city, each one. Mm-hmm. So I think there's strong investment implications here. And if anybody, was misled by this notion of, suddenly we don't need any more energy for AI, do some research. Don't ask an AI about it, but, ask a real human being. I think there's an opportunity in that mistaken perception.
Well, let me tell you, I've been using AI for, almost as long as I've been driving a Tesla. And what I can tell you, and I just asked ChatGPT, what do you think of DeepSeek? And it said that it's reportedly on a par with GPT 3.5 or early Gemini. Censorship is baked in. It avoids politically sensitive topics by design, includes training data, party-approved history, ideology, and filtered Western sources. And it says, think of it as red pill GPT, but with Xi's face on the pill. And speed of iteration is rapid, but it's basically tofu drag AI.
Wait, that's interesting. Isn't the red pill the one that wakes you up to reality? I thought the blue pill was the one that was delusional.
Yeah, well, a red pill, I think it's making a joke about communism,
Oh.
The thing has a sense of humor.
So interesting stuff. But I think, even if you're anti-nuclear, fine, the whole phenomenon is profoundly, transformationally requiring an electric energy build out from whatever source. And I think, heck, we just had, Denmark and Massachusetts, the People's Republic of Massachusetts, and even Germany finally doing a U-turn on nuclear energy. The straws in the wind, it's not just like one straw, it's whole freaking bales of hay blowing by with this nuclear renaissance here. But even if you're not into that, gas-fired, beautiful, clean coal, you name it, we're going to need it because we are going to have to double and then double again our capacity.
Hey, and let's not forget the deep state. They're the biggest user of AI on the planet. The area around Langley, so you have Langley, CIA, you have Defense Intelligence Agency, probably the FBI's got one there as well. And
don't forget the No Such Agency.
Yeah, and the NSA.
Yeah, right.
So they're using more AI and more electricity than anyone. They're going to need nuclear power plants, modular ones, literally in their basements to keep up with all this power demand. There's not enough solar, not enough space on the planet for solar to feed all this stuff.
That brings up sort of the dark side here. And as much as I look forward to safer highways, I don't really look forward to AI-powered facial recognition with the, cameras everywhere, not just airports anymore. Every ATM, every stoplight these days is,
Sure.
There is a 1984 concern here, and I don't know what to do about that. There's no stopping it. If the U.S. just says, okay, we're going to be the pro-freedom country, we're not going to do any AI. Well, the Russians aren't going to do that, and the Chinese aren't going to do that, and they'll blow us out of the water. So it's an arms race. There's no choice but to go ahead. And I don't know how to safeguard individual rights in that context, but I sure hope the the folks at Google and Apple and whatnot are remembering, Google's supposed mandate of don't be evil.
Oh, they changed that slogan a long time ago, Logo. They forgot that one. But it's interesting in that the traditional players here, Meta, Google, and Apple, are so far behind the curve on this AI. It's not even close. My opinion is they've already lost the battle. Maybe successive re-releases, regenerations of their AI model will prove me wrong, but until that happens, I think they're cooked. But we will see.
Tim cooked. Okay. All right. But you're not cheering me up here, brother. Maybe Sam Altman is an angel in disguise. I don't know.
No.
But I sure hope that if we do get to the point, that it's iterative progress, it's getting smarter all the time. If the thing breaks out into AGI, an actual superhuman intelligence, I sure hope that the more ethical, I won't say ethical players, because I'm not sure there are any completely ethical players here, but I certainly hope the more ethical players get there first, because there's a potential here for this to be a winner takes all kind of race. And the funny thing is, I'm not really worried about Skynet. I'm not worried about it waking up and turning evil. I am worried about, a very powerful agentive AI built without the moral constraints that that a Westerner might design in, or even one specifically built with conquest in mind. I can absolutely see Putin designing a super system to help him take over the world if it could.
Exactly. Could not agree with you more. Well, on that note, we got to get going. Just tell us how we connect with you, how we subscribe to your newsletter.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. It's independentspeculator.com. And rather than try to sell you the whole big thing, I always just tell people, look, there's a free weekly letter if you sign up for it. You can try it, see if you like the way I think. The one thing I do promise is that I won't spam you with a flood of daily advertisements. I hate that. You get one email and you can check it out.
All right. You'll make sure the AI keeps them out of the algorithm, right?
We'll try.
All right. We've got a question for Lobo and myself. Email kl@kerrylutz.com. And you'll find a link in the show notes to this interview to his site on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. When you go there, we just ask that you subscribe like 80,000 others of you have. Lobo, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.